Hi, Aaron. Hi, Will. Can you hear me okay? Just throw a one in there in the chat if you can hear me. Hey, Jonathan. Hi, Renee. Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. Thank you, Aaron, for letting me know you can hear me. Hi, Tawny. Thank you, Will and Renee and everyone. I appreciate it, Jonathan. How are you all this Sunday evening? Thank you, Life is a Gem. Thank you, Tawny. How is everyone doing? I've had a pretty decent day today. I spent a lot of it just relaxing. Hey, Murphy, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Did anyone have an exciting day today? Or did we all just kind of laze around and have a good day? I'm going to try and keep this to about an hour. What I want to talk about is cognitive distortions. And actually, I like using them to point out things that happen on YouTube, especially in the drama community. So we'll make some examples out of things that go on in the drama community when we're dealing with these cognitive distortions. But also, I think it's important that everyone knows that you can use these distortions and change them in your real life, which is very helpful, especially if you have a stressful life. Hey, Patty, I'm doing okay. I was lazy too. Angry grandma on YouTube. That sounds like fun, Will. So, as everyone may know, in the past, I've done quite a bit of teaching on different psychological concepts. One of them is participating and helping in cognitive behavioral therapy, which is generally just called CBT. And so one of the first things you learn when you're teaching people when they start out in CBT is you learn what the cognitive distortions that we as people have. Hey, Nocturnal, it's great to see you. And you'll be surprised at how familiar a lot of these are going to sound to you and how often we use them in day-to-day life. We also use them a lot on YouTube when we're dealing with drama and stuff like that. So, a cognitive distortion is a way of thinking that we've trained ourselves that puts things in perspectives that are just, I guess you could just say they're negative or they're not helpful. And as we get into it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we'll just start with the number one cognitive distortion that people go by, and that's the all or nothing thinking and the polarized thinking. And it's also known a lot as black and white thinking. And the distortion is actually causes an inability to see shades of gray. So seeing things in terms of extremes, or something is either or, fantastic or terrible, someone is perfect or they're a total failure, that would be all or nothing thinking. And where this causes us problems is that, we know that in life, nothing is black and white. There are always shades of gray. And so thinking about like the drama community in dealing with this distortion, think of someone who said one thing and all of a sudden they go from being, the best streamer ever, and now they're just a total piece of trash. This happens all the time, okay? And it can happen with just one slip of the tongue or one distasteful comment, or let's even say just going into a chat and being seen in a chat where people think you shouldn't be, right? So you can go from being the best person ever to being the biggest piece of trash ever. And surely we can see in real life that that's not how things work. Okay. Uh, you see your neighbor at, let's say, uh, the bar in town. Okay. And he's been your best friend. You guys share yard work tools and things. You borrow his mower, he borrows your weed eater. You guys talk, whatever. But because you see him at the bar one night and he's stumbling out of there drunk, about, falling on his face, to say, oh, I don't like him anymore. Gary was cool. I loved Gary. Gary and I shared a lawnmower and we, did all this. And because Gary's coming out one night and you see him falling around drunk, all of a sudden Gary's just the worst person in the world. That's not how things work. But we do get stuck in that kind of thinking. It happened to you on YouTube, Renee? If you feel like sharing in the side chat your experience there, go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too. But we have to realize that people are a mixture and situations are a mixture of good and bad. And one experience doesn't change that. But we do get caught up in that kind of thinking. Powered grass cutter, no gas. Well, that's good. So that's the first cognitive distortion. And we see a lot of that, like I said. Hey, Mary, how are you doing? We see a lot of that around here. The second cognitive distortion is overgeneralization. Oops, I lost. Hold on. What it says here about overgeneralization is that this sneaky distortion takes one instance or example and generalizes it to an overall pattern. For example, a student may receive a C on one test and conclude that she is stupid and a failure. Overgeneralizing can lead to overly negative thoughts about yourself and your environment based on only one or two experiences. So again, the way we see this in the drama community is, someone may say something that sounds cruel to a particular set of people. One thing, like they may say, there was a lady at the grocery store in a wheelchair and I got so mad because she wouldn't get out of my way. And everyone in the drama community then is going to start calling them someone who drags people who are disabled. Simply because someone says one thing that may or may not sound a bit insensitive, it doesn't make them the whole ball of wax. That's an overgeneralization. If you said, oh, this elderly woman was walking in front of me and she was so slow and I was losing my temper, all of a sudden people in the drama community would start saying that you're abusive to elderly people. Do you see what I'm saying with this one? You can't take one example and create a whole persona for someone. Come check my new channel updates videos. I made some funny ones for MBW. It's her birthday. Oh, it's today her birthday. Happy birthday, Mama Beth, if you're listening. I hope she's getting better. She sounded awful the other day. Good day. Outside playing. All right. Hey, Becky. All right, so that's overgeneralization. And if we can reel that back in and we can say, okay, you know what? Sometimes people have a bad day. And actually, let me think. There was something, and let me think about it for a second. My memory takes a minute. I'm going to give you a specific example of something that happened in the drama community. Shit. I can't think of it. Anyway, we see it happen a lot. They are toxic, and a lot of these cognitive distortions lead to that toxicity, Will. All right, so that would be overgeneralization. Then we have the next distortion is a mental filter. It's similar to overgeneralizing, but the distortion focuses on a single negative piece of information and excludes all the positive ones. And we see this every single day on YouTube. Okay, we take one negative piece of information, like we find out that someone has a mugshot, right? And we focus on that, and that's all we want to talk about, and we want to show it to everyone, and we want to say, oh my gosh, she has a mugshot. But we forget, or we don't forget in the drama community, they purposely don't focus on the positive ones. But in our real life, a lot of times we find out a piece of information that's negative about someone, like that they, were uh, picked up for, I don't know, speeding or something. And then we forget everything good about them. And, that's not a good way to look at things, because again, people are made up of good and bad. Um, Maybe, a spouse comes home and is grumpy and says something that hurts your feelings. And instead of focusing on all the days that your spouse came home and wasn't grumpy and said very kind things, you hold on to that one time that your spouse came home and said something that hurt your feelings. Um, it just generally fosters a pessimistic view of everything around you by focusing only on the negative. And we see this a lot in people's chats too, because we see a million positive comments fly by in the side chat, and yet the person on the live stream only responds or reads the negative ones. It's sort of natural to want to pick out the negative things so that you can defend yourself, but to forget about all the positive things that have been said in your side chat and deem this chat just crap is wrong, because it's not true, and it is just a mental filter. Hey Des, it's good to see you. I love you too. There's been a lot happening. Yeah, Mary, I think we're all guilty of that. It does suck to self-reflect. But listen, Mary, when we start challenging these cognitive distortions, we actually will find that we become better people, we become calmer, and we become happier, because we aren't always looking for what's wrong in a situation. Instead, we start thinking that sometimes things just happen. It has nothing to do with us, and everything is not as bad as we're making it. Hey, Conklin, it's great to see you. Hey, Pepper. Okay, so this kind of leads into the next one, which is disqualifying the positive. Love you. Disqualifying the positive, which is what I was saying that people tend to do in the side chat. When they see someone say something nasty or mean in the side chat, but then right after that, there are 15 people saying something really kind, like, I support you, or you're a good person, or whatever. They just completely forget about those. Hold on, I was making sure that I didn't miss anything here. So yeah, so what I was reading was that it says it disqualifies the positive in that the distortion acknowledges the positive experience but rejects them instead of embracing them. And so we focus on that one bad thing or nasty thing that people said and give it more power than the power of the positive things that we're saying. Or in real life, we accept that we got a good work review, but we're going to, we're like, oh, yeah, I got a good work review, and they gave me a 15-cent raise. But then we think, but, you know, so and so got a 25-cent raise. So my 15-cent raise and positive review doesn't hold as much power as that. And we discount the positive of what's happening for the negative. And that, that's not good. We wouldn't do that to a friend. Like if a friend came to us and said, I took that test and I had studied for 4 weeks for that test and I got a B. We wouldn't say, a B? What are you, an idiot? No, we wouldn't do that. But that's what we do to ourselves. We disqualify the positive in that a B is still a really good grade. Okay, but it's not an A, we'll say. Well, but it wasn't an A, I should have gotten an A. Uh, we wouldn't do that to our friends. We wouldn't say, well, you're such an idiot. Disqualify the fact that you got a B, but you're an idiot, because you didn't get an A. We don't do that to people we love, but we will do that to ourselves. What is that? Oh, the filters. Okay. Sorry, Luke is unpacking a delivery we got, and I'm nosy. Nice. Sorry, Conklin. Nice head hole, moron. Good for you, Mary. I'm glad. I'm glad you feel better. People, emotions, and situations are so complex, it's easy to judge someone. It's much harder to put yourself in their shoes because that takes introspection. Big Whopper, you can see yourself out. And a lot of us do that, Conklin. We do find that it's easier to be kind to others than it is to ourselves. 85% of your time you qualify as being amazing. I think so too, Tyler. Hello, Mr. Lantern. Okay, so the next distortion here. Jumping to conclusions and mind reading. And oh my gosh, how often do we do this? And I think a lot of times when we do this in our real life, we do it because we feel some sort of anxiety. And so we try to assume what's going to happen or to assume what someone else is thinking about something because we need that feeling of security immediately. Like we can't wait. But in jumping to conclusions, the distortion manifests as the inaccurate belief that we know what other people are thinking. Of course, we don't. It's possible to have an idea of what other people may be thinking based on the situation, but the point of this negative distortion is that we tend to jump to the negative in this. So we think we can read other people's minds, and not only can we read their minds, but we're going to jump to the worst possible outcome. Okay. The example they give of this is seeing a stranger with an unpleasant expression and jumping to the conclusion that they are thinking something negative about you. When in reality, if you see a stranger with an unpleasant expression, they may have gas. We don't know. They may be holding in a really big fart, and it may have nothing to do with you. And I hate to tell you all this, but it's more likely that someone is holding in a really big fart than that they are thinking about you. So keep that in mind going forward in your life. Okay, let me see this. Uh-huh.
When you get a second, can you pause?
Give me 1 second, please. I'll be right back.
suppose I could try and
Give
pause.
me just 1 second, guys. My mother-in-law's electricity is out. She lives across town, and so she's wondering if it's out everywhere over there or if it's just hers. So I need to check the electric site and see, and I have to figure out how to do that. So give me 1 second. I'm sorry about this. Okay. Um, Talk amongst yourselves. Babe, I can't tell by this. There is outages, but I don't think it's there. Please stand by while Janie lets loose a really big fart. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Okay. Like Tammy said one time, right? Try to convince them they're going to believe what you want to anyway. Okay. I need a drink. A sippy.
All right. Okay. All right. Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay. So we covered jumping to conclusions on fortune telling, and we have come to the conclusion that we are all terrible fortune tellers, and it's all just a misunderstanding. Everyone has to fart. Okay, so there's magnification, which is also known as catastrophizing, and minimization. Um, this is a skewing of our perspective. So a distortion that involves exaggerating or minimizing the meaning or importance of something. Um, an example they give is an athlete who is generally a good player but makes a mistake may magnify the importance of that mistake and believe that he is a terrible teammate, while an athlete who wins a coveted award in her sport may minimize the importance of the award and continue believing that she is only a mediocre player. So this works both ways. One of the ways that I see this happen more often is the use of hyperbole. And it's something that we've, as a society, seem like we've started to do more of. Like something happens, like, let me think. Okay, you have your nails done at the salon, and the very next day you break one of them off. And what do you say? You say, "Oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. I got up this morning and I hit my nail on the cabinet and it's just terrible. And my day was ruined." Really? Really? We all love hyperbole, okay? I understand as a concept, hyperbole is fun. In comedy, hyperbole is just hysterical. I love it, okay? But in real life, we often are driven, our emotions are driven by the words that we use. Well, then, this one creator who cams up, sometimes she has that look. So apparently, she has to really pass gas after. Oh, right, life's a gem. Yeah, son of a bitch, I broke a nail. Hey, there's a good idea, Stellar. You changed your name on me, by the way, to Eclair, which, I like eclairs, but it's going to take some getting used to. So if I still continue to call you Stellar, please forgive me. But yeah, our daily use of hyperbole has gotten like out of hand. And so if we say, "Oh my gosh, my stomach hurts. This is the worst pain I've ever felt." Okay, now check yourself. Is it really the worst pain you've ever felt, or are you being over dramatic and using hyperbole? Or my child broke a tooth. I swear I can't do this day anymore. Oh my God, I hate this. All those things. We catastrophize things. Tomorrow will tell. Okay. So yeah, if you find yourself catastrophizing, try and draw it back in a little bit. Think of when something, either this exact thing or something comparable to this, has happened in the past, and how you feel about it now. Like 5 years ago, say you had a flat tire on your way to work, okay? And it was just the worst day of your life. But now, today, you have a flat tire on your way to work again, and it's just the worst day of your life. Think back on when it happened before and how that really turned out. Was that really the worst day of your life? If it wasn't, then you probably shouldn't be convincing yourself that it is the worst day of your life. There you go, Conklin. You always do that? Yeah. I mean, and it's become a way of connecting with other people. We're like, "Oh my God, it's so terrible." But when we're really dealing with real life issues and emotional issues and things like that, it's probably best to leave the exaggeration and the hyperbole and the histrionics and all of that behind, because we do tend to feel the way we say. So if we say, "This is the worst thing that has ever happened to me," we're going to feel all the things that we would feel if this truly was the worst thing that ever happened to us. Sometimes we do need to jerk ourselves back into reality and be like, "Yeah, this flat tire is an imposition. I'm going to be late for work, but worse things in the world are happening. Worse things have happened to me, and I've gotten through it, and I am a capable adult. And while it does feel really crappy, I'm going to be all right. I'm going to come through it just fine." You stopped cloying behaviors. Let me look up the word cloying. I think I know what it means, but I don't want to answer unless I am sure. Oh, I was wrong. Excessively sweet, rich, or sentimental, especially to a disgusting or sickening degree. There you go. Sometimes I don't know. I kind of like dramatics. So yeah, sometimes I do kind of, as as a bit of comedic relief, I will be a little bit cloying, I suppose. Yeah. No, it's not cloning. So yeah. And when you do something really great and people are congratulating you, on the other side of this coin, stop minimizing it. If you win an award at work for something and people are like, "Congratulations, man, you did a great job. You worked really hard for that." Don't be like, I got lucky. Quit minimizing your own accomplishments. Accept that, yes, you did work hard for that. And even though maybe it did come easy to you, it doesn't come easy to everyone. And let people congratulate you. Quit acting like what you do means nothing. So we've got maximization, or maximizing and catastrophizing, and minimizing. And we need to keep those both in check. All right. On to number 8, emotional reasoning. It says that this may be one. Hold on, I lost my place. This may be one of the most surprising distortions. It's also one of the most important to identify and address. The logic behind this distortion is not surprising to most people. Rather, it is the realization that virtually all of us have bought into this distortion at one time or another. So, are you sitting on the edge of your seat? Because I'm going to tell you how this distortion works. I'm on the edge of my seat and I already know, but it's crazy. Emotional reasoning refers to the acceptance of one's emotions as fact. It can be described as, if I feel it, it must be true. Just because we feel something doesn't mean it's true. For example, we may become jealous and think our partner has feelings for someone else, but that doesn't make it true. Of course, we know it isn't reasonable to take our feelings as fact, but we commonly do this, and this is a common distortion nonetheless. Who can identify with that? I know I can. I know, as someone with anxiety and panic disorder, when I feel scared, I think that there is something to be scared of. And that's not always true. And that's why we develop disorders with anxiety, because we feel scared. We think that we should be scared. Okay, so that's not exactly what this distortion is talking about, but it's an example of how our feelings can lie to us. And so if we feel like the waitress was rude to us, okay, and that makes us feel offended, it may not be that the waitress was necessarily rude to us. Maybe the waitress was simply in a hurry. Maybe, maybe she was uncomfortable because she had a wedgie. Maybe she had to fart and she wants to get away from your table because she doesn't want to be rude. So in trying to hurry to get away from you so that she's not rude where she farts at your table, the waitress has to hurry and get away from your table. And you think because you feel offended that that is fact. It's not necessarily fact. Yes, I make a lot of analogies using farts because people have to fart more than you think in life. Okay? Let's all just consider that the real fact here. All right? Yes, wedgie angst is a thing, Stellar. It really is. So, can anyone else think of a time when you might feel something and think it's fact, but it's actually not? Because, as I said, this is one of the most common ones that we do. Exactly, Mary. Exactly. I think psychology has not put enough emphasis on the idea that people fart a lot. And I think we need to work that into more of our research. Dreams, exactly. You wake up feeling mad at someone because they did something to you in your dream. And you end up like carrying that into your life. And it does go on in the YouTube communities. I've done that to Lucas Conklin, and it's not very nice to do. Stellar, that's hilarious. Hilarious. I am. Just let it out, Mary. Just let it out. So just because we feel offended doesn't mean that someone is trying to offend us. Or just because we feel angry doesn't mean that someone is trying to make us angry or that we even need to be angry. Just because we feel afraid doesn't necessarily mean we should be afraid. And there are all kinds of exceptions to this that we could get into, because being a stickler for being concise is one of my things. And I could sit here and say, if you're walking down a dark alley at night and you feel afraid, you need to listen to your gut. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a distortion in thinking where we turn our thinking negatively based on a distortion. So I'm not talking about if you're walking down the street at night and there's someone following you and you suddenly feel fearful, that you should write that off and be like, no, just because I feel it doesn't mean it's true. No, in that case, believe what you're feeling and get somewhere safe. Will be, I feel like that's kind of like how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. If a woodchuck could chuck all the wood he could chuck, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck? Exactly. The anger is not the anger that the person is feeling, but the person of the anger is feeling of the person that is coming from. Okay, so does everyone understand that one? Conklin, I listened to my gut once and farted. Again, psychology needs to catch up with my new hypothesis here that everyone is just going through a lot of stuff because we've all got to fart and we don't want to in front of other people. Right, right, Stellar. They're important, but they're just a barometer of the emotional climate. I feel confused too, Mary. All right, so we're going to move on to number 9. And this one is a big one on YouTube, especially in the community that we find ourselves. Should statements. Everyone always has a statement about what so and so should have done, or they should have done it this way, or I did it this way, so they should do it this way, or they ought to do this, or they need to do. Everyone has an opinion, okay? But this is something that we do to ourselves and to others on a daily basis. It's a damaging distortion, and the tendency is to make should statements. Should statements are statements that you make to yourself about what you should do, what you ought to do, or what you must do. They can also be applied to others, imposing a set of expectations that will likely not be met. When we hang on too tightly to our should statements about ourselves, I'm so sorry, my throat is getting dry. The result is often guilt that we cannot live up to them. When we cling to our should statements about others, we are generally disappointed by their failure to meet our expectations, which leads to anger and resentment. And I am guilty of this one myself because I'm always saying, she should have done this or she should have done that or whatever. And then I get disappointed because other people don't have to live up to my standards. So when we say that, or we said, if I had been in that situation, I would have done this, or I could have done this, or whatever. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. It doesn't matter. It wasn't my decision to make. But when we do this to ourselves and we say, I should have known better, or I should have been a better friend, or whatever, we have to let go because normally these things have taken place in the past. So there's nothing we can do about them now. But if we truly believe that we should have done something, then we need to take the actions that in the future, going forward, that's what we'll do, instead of beating ourselves up about what we should have done. And other people, for that matter. I think people should poop more. That's right. 700 pounds. Oh my God. Farting your way to better mental health. Yes, Mary, make sure you're taking notes. Erin will be handing out a quiz at the end of this. Coulda, woulda, shoulda is so yesterday's disappointment. Very well said. Right, Dina. Right. And I hope it's pronounced Dina and not Deanna. Because otherwise I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, it's very it causes a lot of anger and resentment when people are always telling you what you should have done. well, I'm not you, and maybe you would have done it that way, but I'm not. Exactly, quirky girl. I was going to say, we all are all over here shooting on ourselves instead of, just saying, well, maybe if I should have done it differently, I can work on that going forward. But really, shoulding is not going to take care of anything that's already happened. Well, I'm going to keep covering this subject, Mary. Right now, I'm just kind of going over the cognitive distortions as a whole. But as I go forward, I'm going to work on each distortion like on a stream of its own. And we're going to work through ways that we can reframe and approach these distortions, how we can challenge them going forward. Because I think if we as a society would use a lot of these coping skills, that we would be a happier society. Dina. Okay, good. I had it right. All right. Now we get to number 10, labeling and mislabeling. These tendencies are basically extreme forms of overgeneralization. So again, we go back to overgeneralization. We remember that that was assuming that everything is the same regardless. We assign judgments of value to ourselves and to others based on one instance or experience. So someone says, a word we don't like, okay? And yes, it may be a terribly vulgar word and it's inappropriate or whatever, but we can't assume based on one instance that this person is a homophobe or is a racist or is a misogynist or whatever, okay? If it's one time, we can't use that label. All right. And this is done a lot on here. So say you hear someone tell an off-color joke about, let's see, what's something that's a hot topic right now. You hear someone make an off-color joke about someone from the LGBTQ community, okay? That one joke can offend you. You have every right to be offended. And you have a right to say, you know what, I don't like jokes like that. And I would ask that you don't tell that joke again. That is appropriate. But now we cannot, based on the telling of one joke, label or mislabel that person as a homophobe. Okay? Because people make mistakes. Sometimes people haven't realized just how inappropriate something is or inappropriate a word is. I don't know how many times I've used a word and someone has come back at me and said, you know what, I don't like that word because this, and this. And I get to looking up the history of the word and I'm like, you know what, I didn't even know that that word was, you know, historically pejorative. I didn't know that. And so if someone were to label me as racist or homophobic or something based on something I didn't even know, then that would be mislabeling me. And that's not fair to do to someone. So if you hear someone use a word and you say, do you know what that word means? Ask someone instead of just assuming. Hold on. Why did Mary get deleted? Mary, you're timed out. I don't know why. I think Aaron may have accidentally clicked on you. Hold on for 300 seconds and you're welcome back. You didn't do anything wrong. Now, what was I saying? Oh, a lot of times people don't know what words mean. They don't know that they have a history of being negative connotations or whatever. So, ask someone if they use a word. Say, do you know what that word means? Do you know the history of that word? And they very well may not. So if you go ahead and label them that, you're the one who, number one, is missing a teaching opportunity, an opportunity to teach someone so that they don't repeat that, and an opportunity to get to know this person and still like this person That's okay, Aaron. I know it happens from time to time. I'm sure we all remember that someone was running around here for a long time calling us all trans bashers. And that was not fun. And it was not fun to try and defend yourself against that. Um, and that wasn't even based on one experience. That was just based on falsehoods. But it's never uh, fun to be mislabeled. Okay, number 11 is personalization. Sorry, Mary. Personalization, and this is where we think everything is about us, right? We personalize things. And I think we've already said earlier that this has nothing to do with us. It's that everyone is gassy, and that's the reason why things happen. So, yeah, we all tend to take things personally. We think when the clerk at the checkout is rude to us, it's because she saw us coming in and she was like, bitch, I don't like your face. And so I'm going to be rude to you. When in fact, her dog may have died that morning. Or the last two customers before you may have been, she may have had a really hard time dealing with difficult customers. Or maybe earlier that morning, her cash register was all messed up and it wasn't working and she's just having a really bad day. The likelihood that someone sees you personally coming towards them and decides that they're going to be rude to you is very, very low. Most of the things that happen to us in a day have nothing to do with us. Someone is rude to you, someone cuts you off in traffic, someone doesn't hold the elevator door for you, whatever. Most of those things have nothing to do with you. They have to do with someone being distracted, or someone being in a hurry to get to work, or someone had a bad morning, or they're on their way to the hospital because they're sick or something. So we need to take things less personal. Okay. Is Mary back yet? Well, now that Mary's timed out, let's talk about her. Exactly, Stellar. Now that she can't talk back. Hey, Mr. Positive, it's good to see you. So, let's all talk about Mary and what Mary should have done, and let's mislabel her and make wild generalizations about her. Your dog timed Mary out. Aw, Precious. Mary, you can't even be mad because Precious was trying to chat with us and accidentally timed you out. So, right, Stellar, exactly. I'm sorry, I needed another sippy. Okay, control fallacies. A control fallacy manifests as one of two beliefs: that we have no control over our lives and are helpless victims of fate, or that we are in complete control of ourselves and our surroundings, giving us responsibility for the feelings of everyone around us. Both beliefs are damaging and both are equally inaccurate. Can you see how these are bad things to think? If we go through our lives thinking that we have no control over anything and everything that happens to us, around us, among us, whatever, is all fate, that is so dangerous because we will just live our lives and not take responsibility for anything. And whatever happens, happens. And people are going to be very angry and disappointed and anything else negative when they're around us. If, on the other hand, we go around assuming that everything we come in contact with every day is all our control, if so and so's having a bad day, by God, we're going to step up and make them have a good day. If so and so, we're going to control everything around us. Nobody can stand that. We're going to make people very unhappy, and we're going to make ourselves unhappy when we realize that we have way less control than we think they do. We're going to get very frustrated. So, no one is in complete control of what happens to them, and no one has absolutely no control over their situations. Even in extreme situations where an individual seemingly has no choice in what they do or where they go, they still have a certain amount of control over how they approach their situation mentally and how they react to the things that happen. So, understanding that yes, we neither both have no control nor do we have absolute control is very important. Things happen, and what we can control is how we approach those things, how we react to those things, and how we choose to go forward once something happens. So, does everyone get that? Once you're sober, you're going to punch us all. Mary should have watered her golden war. No wonder she. Okay. Humans are likely only conscious of 1% of what is really going around. Yes, going on around us. Hey, Shauna, it's good to see you. Mary, I think we all probably have a lot of control issues. Sometimes we act like we have control of nothing because it's easier that way, and other times we feel like we have to take control of everything because that makes us more comfortable to know that things are going to be done our way to our expectations. And I think practicing letting go of control could be very helpful to a lot of people. It could be worse. It could be a stalker alligator, Mary. Thankfully, it's just a frog. See, you were catastrophizing, and I showed you how to reel that back into realism. You were catastrophizing like it was the worst thing ever that frog got in your house. And I'm just saying, let's put things in perspective. You could have a stalker alligator. He hops to too many conclusions. Exactly. All right, and finally we get to the fallacy of fairness. Can anyone guess what this is? While we would all prefer to operate in a world that is fair, the assumption that the world is a fair place is not based in reality and can foster negative feelings when we are faced with proof of life's unfairness. A person who judges every experience by its perceived fairness has fallen into a hole and will likely feel anger, resentment, and hopelessness when they inevitably encounter a situation that is not fair. For instance, something that's going on right now that we've been dealing with for over a year now, the pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs and it wasn't fair. They didn't do anything wrong, but they're still out of work, right? So we have to accept that sometimes the world just is not fair and move forward knowing that. Instead of focusing on how unfair it is that you were doing your job, you were doing it well, you showed up every day, and now there just is no more job. It does us no good to wallow in the idea that that's unfair. We know it's unfair, and yes, we should say that was unfair because I did do everything right. But after we say that, we have to say, but where do I go from here? Conklin. Fart it out, Conklin. Fart it out. Oh, I hate snakes, Mary. I hate them. So, again, to assume that everything that happens in this world is fair, you're just setting yourself up for feeling really terrible. Okay? Because unfair things happen all the time and they are beyond our control a lot of the time. If they're in your control and something's unfair, by all means, if you have the ability, fight it. But realize that some things in life are just unfair. It's no one's fault, and you have to move forward. Hotbox someone and tell me it doesn't make you laugh. Right, Mary. And so, Mary, I would say, that is a really unfair situation, and I hate to hear that. But things happen, And I know people will think, oh, that sounds callous to say that. How could you say that to someone you care about? Because it's reality. And we tell reality to people when we care about them. We don't foster this feeling in them that life is so unfair and they should feel miserable about it. We say nobody could have foreseen this happening. Let's hope the world is better prepared if there's another pandemic in 100 years. But this is what the situation is. And what are we going to do, Mary, so that we don't just sit and wallow in the unfairness of it all and get ourselves in a trap where we feel helpless and hopeless? There you go. This is cognitive therapy, Conklin. I'm going over CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Tonight, I'm just really quick going through all the cognitive distortions. Duh. Conklin, when you farted, did you grunt too hard and lose some brain cells? Don't hold your breath so long next time, Conklin. If it doesn't come out, take a breath and then grunt again. I won't blow smoke up your ass. Exactly. And friends don't. Now, if you're really freaking out, a friend might blow a little smoke up your ass until you calm down some. And then they're going to hit you with the truth when you're able to handle it. Okay? Because as friends, we don't go around amping our friends up in their times of need. So we might, soothe them a little bit with some, everything's going to be okay. It's not fair. You're right. It's not fair. But then when they're calmed down, we're going to say, okay, but listen, life isn't fair. So what do we do from here? All right. So let's move on to the next one. The fallacy of change. Another fallacy distortion involves expecting others to change if we pressure or encourage them. This distortion is usually accompanied by a belief that our happiness and success rests with other people, leading us to believe that forcing those around us to change is the only way to get what we want. A man who thinks if I just encourage my wife to stop doing the things that irritate me, I can be a better husband and a happier person, is exhibiting the fallacy of change. Again, this is a control issue. We should know that we do not control what other people do. So if someone changes, they have to want to change. And yes, we can tell them. I've noticed that, let's see, like Luke does with my smoking. Okay. Luke can't make me change and quit smoking. I have to do that. But Luke can say, I've noticed you're smoking more than usual. And so I've wondered what that's about. Is there something I can do to help? That's as much as Luke can do. That's as much control as Luke has over my smoking. Now, the likelihood that if Luke amps that up and starts dogging me about it constantly, that I'm going to change gets less and less. The more he dogs me for it, the less likely I am to change. And I think this is something that people forget on YouTube. No one has ever changed their behavior because someone made them feel like a piece of shit. No one. In the history of pieces of shit, no one has ever stopped being a piece of shit because someone told them they were a piece of shit, okay? That's not how change works. First of all, if someone doesn't want to change, they're not going to change. End of story. Secondly, you can't make someone who already feels bad, as with drug addiction or alcoholism or something like that, feel better by making them feel worse. It just doesn't work that way. And so that would be a tie up in the distortion that we can affect change in other people. We can encourage change, but at some point you have to realize that the more you dog someone about something, the further you push them away from you and away from a decision of making any change. Buddha is better than Freud. I agree. Freud. Did I say that right? Freud. It sounds weird. Freud. Sigmund Freud. Yeah, that's how you say it. For some reason, it just sounded really weird. Freud. Freud. Exactly, Stellar. A recipe for disaster. Right, Mary. We're the bad guy when we tell the truth because the truth is not a comfortable thing for some people. Shaming people is not a way. You're right. Freud was a pretty scary person. Well, he wasn't scary. He was kind of a cross between and a hippie and a stoic. I mean, if you could imagine someone being both of those, that would be Freud. Yeah. So it's a kind of an odd combination. I don't want to be, well, I kind of would like to be a monkey, Stellar. I love monkeys. I love them. That's why I call everyone monkey. I call Luke monkey. I call my little baby boy, I call him monkey. I love monkeys. I call everyone monkey or puppy. So if you ever come to my house and we become friends on a real basis, like where you're coming over and everything, and I greet you at the door and I say, hello, puppy, you'll know that I genuinely have affection for you. Or if I say, hello, my monkey, I genuinely have affection for you. Monkeys and puppies, that's where it's at. And then you'll really know if I fart in the same room that we're in together. You call people sloths? Right, Conklin. Monkeys throw poo. They do. They do. Yep. But I love monkeys. Monkeys and puppies. All right. What's our next distortion? Always being right. Oh my gosh, if this isn't a hard one. Perfectionists and those struggling with imposter syndrome will recognize this distortion. It is the belief that we must always be right. For those struggling with this distortion, the idea that we could be wrong is absolutely unacceptable, and we will fight to the metaphorical death to prove that we are right. For example, the internet commenters who spend hours arguing with each other over an opinion or political issue far beyond the point where reasonable individuals would conclude that they should agree to disagree are engaging in the always being right distortion. To them, it is not simply a matter of difference of opinion, it is an intellectual battle that must be won at all costs. Now, I get tied up in this one a lot because I hate the saying agree to disagree. I will never agree to disagree. Now, we can disagree, but I'm not going to agree to disagree. I am stubborn and I am a perfectionist beyond all perfectionism. I really am. Um, so yeah, this is a difficult one for me. I think it's a difficult one for a lot of people on the internet. We've all seen the people who will fight to the death to be right. And sometimes I can be one of them. Ask my relatives when they visit if they need to leave early to catch the plane. Hey, Silver Wings, how you doing? Right, Silver Wings? I always have imposter syndrome too, but I'm also a perfectionist. So you can imagine how hard this cognitive distortion is for me to battle. Yeah, sometimes I'm a wrong fighter. Sometimes I'm a foo fighter. But yeah, this one's hard for me. And I've had to learn to choose my battles. Okay. Because I have heard people say stuff that is so wrong, like not even close to being right. Um, and I have to say to myself, listen, you are not the police of information on the internet. You just sometimes have to let it go because you can't fight to inform everyone when they're wrong. You can't do it. And it's difficult and it tears me up sometimes. But we have to do that. I make myself miserable with it. Sometimes I'm a wrong fighter, a right fighter, a fu fighter, and a kung fu fighter. I reserve the right to be wrong sometimes. Well, I'll even fight, I'll even fight myself, Stellar. It wasn't too long ago that I took a stream down that I did because I felt like I hadn't explained something correctly. And so I was like, no, you don't deserve to leave this live stream up. You might have had misinformation in there, and that's wrong. So I took it down. And I'm sure it wasn't all as serious as that. I think I said something backwards, and because I'm too lazy to go back and find out if I did or not, I just yanked the whole stream. It is what it is. Right, Silver Wings. Okay, let's see what our last distortion is here. Our last distortion is our heaven's reward fallacy. This distortion is a popular one, and it's easy to see the myriad of examples of this fallacy playing out on big and small screens across the world. The heaven's reward fallacy manifests as a belief that one's struggles or one's suffering and one's hard work will result in a just reward. It's obvious why this type of thinking is a distortion. How many examples can you think of, just within the realm of your personal acquaintances, where hard work and sacrifice did not pay off? Sometimes, no matter how hard we work or how much we sacrifice, we will not achieve what we hope to achieve. To think otherwise is a potentially damaging pattern of thought that can result in disappointment, frustration, anger, and even depression when the awaited reward does not materialize. Now, with this one, I have to give it as an example. People who feel like every kid should make the team, okay? And I'm not talking about little kids. I'm not talking about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds or whatever. But at a certain age, and I can't tell you what age that might be, I would have to think about that. And I don't feel like thinking about age appropriateness at this time. But at a certain age, every kid should not make the team. That's not how the world works. No matter how hard my child has tried, if I had a child, practiced at basketball or whatever, uh, you know, for hours a day, and then some other kid comes on just because he wants to be on the team, he gets on the team too. That's not fair. But what we need to teach children is that even if they practice every single day, like if someone made me practice basketball every single day, yes, I'm going to get better at basketball, but I'm telling you what, if I go try out for the Knicks or something, I'm not going to make the team because I don't have a natural propensity to being good at basketball. So it's okay to work really hard at something and not get the reward. The reward has to be in the doing itself, okay? So the reward would have to be in, I'm better at basketball because I worked really hard at it, not I got on the Knicks because I worked really hard at it. Am I making sense here? Maybe I'm not making sense. My chat died. I don't know if it died or if I just froze or something. But think of it like this. Okay. Think of it like this, though. If everyone got accepted to medical school and everyone who got accepted to medical school became a doctor, it wouldn't be right to put those people who were just, everyone makes the team, right? To have someone doing surgery on them who only made it because everyone made the team. Yes, sometimes you work hard, but you still fail medical school, and that's okay, because if you fail medical school, you shouldn't be doing surgery on human beings or animals. Well, Silver Wings, that's okay. Hi, Susan. I'm sure that you are well aware of how to be supportive if he doesn't make the team. I have great faith that you will be able to work with him through that, through his disappointment and, all of that. I think that you're going to do fine if he doesn't make the team. Oh, my neck. It needs to pop. But yeah, we have to learn that sometimes in life, even when we work really hard and even when we do everything right, we're still not going to get what we want. And that doesn't mean that we're not worthy or that we're a bad person or that we're stupid or that we're a bumbling idiot. What it means is that just that thing may not be made for us. We may not be meant to be a basketball player. And that's okay. It doesn't mean we're a loser. Silver Wings. Well, you'll get to have some fun when he tries out. Yeah, and I think that's what it's tied up in, this fallacy, Conklin, is the idea that if you do everything right, you get the grand reward at the end of your journey. And I think a lot of people can understand the analogy of living a life that's right so that at the end of our life, we get the afterlife, the heaven, or whatever. Do we, Susan? I don't know if that should scare me or not, Susan. Yes, as we discover the talents we do have, we can find other happiness, natural happiness. And so, the quicker we are to accept that, hey, maybe basketball isn't a natural talent for me, I can move on. And what I did was I realized that softball was a natural talent for me. Not so much of the jumping and the reaching and the dribbling, more of the hitting and the catching and the running. That was where my talents lie. I wasn't so much on the running and dribbling at the same time and jumping and shooting. I was more about, like I said, the hitting, the catching, the running, that kind of stuff. So the quicker we can accept that we aren't meant for everything, the quicker we can move on to the things we are meant for. Not scary. Okay. All right. Because I'm a little bit of a weirdo, Susan. I am. All right, so we've gone over the cognitive distortions. I'm just going to read through them again real quick to remind you what they were and let you think about if you can remember how they fit into our lives. There's the all or nothing thinking, there's overgeneralization, the mental filter, disqualifying the positive, jumping to conclusion and mind reading, jumping to conclusions with fortune telling, magnification, catastrophizing, and minimization, emotional reasoning, should statements, labeling and mislabeling, personalization, control fallacies, the fallacy of fairness, the fallacy of change, always being right, and heaven's reward fallacy. And if I had to pick one of those that is my most difficult cognitive distortion to overcome, it's the always being right. I have a very hard time with that. Is that your forte, Silver Wings? All right. So, what is everyone else's forte? If you had to pick one of those, what one would you say that you fall into most of the time? Let them eat cheesecake. That's right. Yes, and waiters fart a lot. Always just assume if your waiter is rude or your cashier is rude or the lady at the nail salon is rude, anyone who's being rude to you has to fart. There you go, taken care of. They have to fart and they're not being rude, they're just really uncomfortable and they want to get away from you so they can go take care of their business. I think the world would be a much easier place to navigate if we just assumed that everyone is holding in a really big fart, and that's why they're in such a hurry and being so rude and standoffish. Problems solved. I am going to put this forward in the psychological community that we need to do more research on how much shit happens based on just someone holding in a really big fart. I think it could be plausible. All right, so does anyone have anything they want to add? I think I've been on here for a little over an hour. It's been nice seeing you all. Get the scientists on that immediately. Exactly, Silver Wings. The world, I think if we're looking for world peace, we could actually achieve it if we can find out what part holding in a fart holds in our world and our society. What is the difference between an elephant fart and a cocktail lounge? A cocktail lounge is a bar room and an elephant's fart is a baroom. I don't like that one. So I've had a good time with you on this Sunday evening. Maybe you can take some of the ideas about cognitive distortions into your Monday, into your weekday with you, and realize that, when people are being rude and everything at work, that they're just holding in a fart. It really was, Conklin. I like this stuff. And we're going to move forward with this too. I just wanted to go over all the cognitive distortions tonight, but I want to move into reframing and everything based on cognitive behavioral therapy ideas. We're not going to do cognitive behavioral therapy, but we are going to use some of the examples to get us through our rough days to put into our coping skill toolbox. And I hope that people who listen can take something into their real life or even just use on YouTube here when we get far too invested and we start having negative self talk and all that kind of stuff. So, well, I'm glad, Susan, and I will keep doing these things if people keep coming back. So, if you like this, please don't forget to maybe drop me a like if you feel like it. Make sure you're subscribed and hit the all when you check the button. I appreciate you coming in. I've had a good time. And yeah, I look forward to next time. Maybe at some point I'll get my shit together enough that I'll set a certain day and time that we do this so that you guys know what's coming up. The way I work now, you know what? I just feel like it and I just do it. And I know that's not the best way forward, but bear with me. Maybe one day I will be a productive citizen who makes a schedule and sticks to it. Much love to you all too. I hope you have the day you deserve tomorrow. Monday, go into it like a wrecking ball, seize the day, be positive, and live a good life. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Thanks for coming in. Bye-bye.